Good morning, everyone. Today is Sunday, December 27th. It is 2 days after Christmas. Merry Christmas if you celebrate. This is my Flosstube channel where I talk about all things cross-stitch that I do, sometimes some other little things thrown in, but mainly cross-stitch and all of the cross-stitching friends I'm meeting as I continue my journey through cross-stitching. I know a lot of people around this time do a whip parade, which is a work in progress parade. This is not a whip parade. If you're here for the whip parade, I'm very sorry. That is not what I'm doing today. What I'm doing today is finally explaining to you guys my list. I've mentioned my list in the past. And I decided to go through every single project that was on my 2020 list, show you where it's at, even if it's just a chart, and explain a little bit about what it is, because I've never really gone into detail with it. So at the end of 2019, I started collecting charts more avidly than I previously had. So I didn't want to forget charts that I really wanted to start stitching, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to accomplish in that year. So I made a list on my phone, just said 2020. And as I found charts that I really wanted to stitch, but wasn't going to finish in 2019 or even start, I added them to my list. And the only real rule I gave myself regarding this list was not to be so hard on myself. This list is not a list that I was expecting to finish. So that made it a little easier on me because I wasn't under a year-long time constraint of I had to finish these pieces. This list is not a list of charts that I'm only allowed to touch in 2020. Like, I wasn't telling myself I was keeping 2020 within these charts because that's just not realistic. I'm going to see new things every year and I'm going to want to stitch them. So this was just when I was looking for the next thing I wanted to stitch, I picked up this list, read through the options on there and went, oh, I forgot about that chart. I'm going to pick that one up. I'm going to stitch that. And the only actual hard rule I have for this, because I have made a 2021 list as well, because I did like having this list. The only hard rule I had is that once the year prior came to an end and the year of the list started, so once 2019 ended and I was officially in 2020, nothing was allowed to be put onto the 2020 list. Even if it's January, no, done. That 2020 list has been done. This is what's on it. My 2021 list started as soon as I started to find charts in 2020 that I really wanted to do. So yeah, I know that's different, but it works for me. And it gives me an idea of what I'd like to focus on in the next year without tying myself to those charts. So I'm not feeling a sense of obligation. I'm not feeling like I'm trapped within a certain amount of charts. And it just worked. I liked it. So I'm going to show you what was on my list, what I got to, why I didn't get to some of the other things, and maybe you'll see something you want to stitch. Maybe I'll just keep you company while you're stitching. Right? Flosstube. These are in no particular order other than they are the order in which they were on my list. That's it. So the first thing I had on the list, which was overly ambitious, I don't know why I put this on the list, was the entirety of the Plum Street Samplers little Christmas Noah's Ark ornaments. At this point, I think she's got 6 or 7 sets of Noah's Ark ornaments. They are sold in pairs of 2. And they're just 2 animals that would have been on Noah's Ark, in an ornament form. And they all have, they're not super similar, but you can tell that they belong to a set. And I just threw Plum Street samplers, Noah's Ark's ornament on there, as if I was going to accomplish them all. That did not happen, so I'm going to show you which ones I have. These are one of the only patterns I didn't bring with me. I will be showing you the patterns for the other charts I have. It's just there were just too many of those patterns to show you. What I have learned for this one, this is the giraffe one. This is probably the first one because I did try to go in an order, was that there was a recommendation on the pattern of how big your fabric should be. I feel like I wasted a lot of fabric listening to that. In all reality, could have put an ornament here, an ornament here, an ornament here, and an ornament here. I did not do that because I didn't realize that I should or that I could have. I don't think I really thought about how big these were and how much space I was going to have left over. So thankfully, I only finished 3 of the Noah's Ark ornaments. So there was a bit of fabric waste, but I have a lot of fabric on the side for this project, and I will not continue to make that mistake. So please excuse the excess fabric going anywhere. But these are the little giraffes. These are stitched on 36 count. Picture this plus, I want to say legacy. And they are using almost all the colorful colors. My Christmas, I enjoy red and blue Christmas, and this is a little bluer than what my Christmas colors are. I normally like a tealy turquoise type of color. It looks really good together. I like mint, so red and white with the blue. I wanted to do that here, but I didn't have as great a knowledge of over-dyed flosses when I started this. So I just looked for a blue. I ended up using Classic Colorworks Blue Corn, and I'm going to continue to use that through the set because now I've committed. But that is the main change that I made. Anywhere that was calling for like a dark or a black, I used the blue instead. Probably except in their eyes, because their eyes look like I used them. So yeah, I have not mastered the skill of a paper behind. Showing you guys a cross stitch with a paper behind it. Not mastered. Yeah, so those are my little giraffes. I think they're adorable. I loved everything in this little set, which is why I told myself I was going to do them all. But that didn't happen. On the back side, I have the second ornament, which are 2 adorable little gators with a bunch of fish, and I guess a gator poinsettia. This was the last time I used 2 threads on a 36 count fabric. I didn't even know that you could just use 1 thread. It's just really funny because I have been stitching for a long time, but I was very much in a Stitchy Dimensions box with my mom and my aunt as my only stitching influences. So there was just a plethora of things that I didn't know that Flosstube and Instagram has shown me. And so as I was stitching these, I did feel like they were very, very bulky and thick, and I wasn't really sure why. And then I found out that some people use 1 thread over 36 count. So I did that for the 3rd ornament, which is going to be a little hard to see. The white that this calls for and my fabric choice are very similar, but there are 2 doves on this one. Ooh, there you can kind of see them. Not too really. Let's see if I can flatten them out. Gotta laugh at myself, right? It is terrible to see in this lighting. It's not great in person either, to be totally honest with you. They blend. They blend in a lot with the fabric. There is one little birdie. And there is another. I probably should have stitched the birds with 2 strands of floss. But I was going for 1 strand of floss for the first time, and I went with it. I didn't look back after I did this project. I do enjoy the 1/2 stitching on 36 count fabric. It is now my favorite. So I will continue to do that. But I have made slight modifications when something is hard to see. Live and learn, right? So that is the first project on the list. The next one was another Plum Street sampler. It was George Decorates for Martha. This chart is now available anywhere that you buy your charts. It was not originally when it was put on my list. This was a club piece for the Kindred Spirits Club from Dying to Stitch, which was a club with Beth Twist of Heartstring Samplery and Paulette Stewart from Plum Street Samplers. This was really the only chart I really loved in that series. It just was the one that appealed most to my tastes. I am, however, not a historical political stitcher. Just have not. Don't see myself becoming one. So, okay. So, I didn't want to stitch George or Martha, but I did want to stitch everything else because I enjoy Paulette's style immensely. So I made a lot of changes. This one was one of my more recent finishes. I know that you guys have probably seen it, but it's on the list. So here it is again. My version of George Decorates for Martha is now Chris Decorates for Nick. I did change the people to look like myself, my husband, and even added in my little nugget on the side. There she is. And I changed the entire house. I took away every single flag. And it was just a fun autumn piece. It's actually my favorite piece that I have stitched to date, which is awesome. And I cannot wait to get it framed. I'm waiting for things to come back from the framers before I send things out again. I just don't want that many pieces out in the world that I have to keep track of. So once that goes out, once I get those back, this will go out. The next thing on my list, I also did not bring the charts because there were a few of them, were Little House Needleworks Farmhouse Christmas Series. Last year, I did their Jack's Tree Farm series. I don't know if it was easier for me to do that series because I was stitching them as each pattern was released. I had spoken to Acorns and Threads. They were sending me the pattern every time one came out, which I think was monthly. So I would just stitch it up then, put it down, and not worry about it. This came out prior to that. So I was not doing that for this one. And I had gathered these for my Jolly July. And I had said to myself, ooh, I'm going to finish them all. Because I had worked so quickly on the other ones. Not stopping to think, it really did take me a few months. You only did one square at a time. Every month. I did start it in July. I put it down for an extended period of time until Alyssa from Starry Nights Studio kicked my butt into gear. And I put 2 more boxes in. And then I started to have my wrist nerve issues. So I really haven't touched it since. I do hope to finish it next year. We will see. This is what we have so far. There are 9 in these series. I have stitched 4, as you can see. A big reason why I stopped stitching this was one day I was careless and accidentally spilled some soy sauce on the project. And that wasn't the problem. The soy sauce splatter had been around here. I ran to the sink to wash some of it out, not thinking that classic color works are not color fast. So when the water spread from here to the rest of my project, my red thread bled. And it bled a considerable amount. You can see it in some spaces. I am learning to live with it, like here. and more noticeably around here. Wait. Right around the top of this tree house, you can kind of see it, and around the bird, my thread blood. I did try to unpick what I could to try and make it less noticeable because this square really took a lot of damage, a lot of the white. I unpicked what I could. The fabric itself got dyed in places and there's just nothing I can do about it. I tried the rubbing alcohol, I can't get it out, and I'm nervous to keep playing with it because in the end, the floss is still not color fast. So if I put the wrong thing on it, I could make this a lot worse. So I'm probably just going to leave it as is. I do know that there is an extra border that you can stitch to go around this. As you can see, I do not have a lot of fabric on the top or the bottom, so I will not be stitching that other border, which is fine because I don't believe I stitched a border around Jack's tree farm. And they're really meant to be companion pieces for me, which is the only reason I am using this particular fabric. This fabric is not my friend. It is the called for fabric. It is, I think, a 32 count portobello linen. If I never see portobello linen after I finish this project, it will be too soon. I will not stitch on it again. There will be large amounts of side fabric, I know. I shan't be keeping them. Maybe I will ask you guys if anybody is interested in the scraps. It is not for me. It is not a bad fabric, obviously, as it was used for the model, and I know other people have used it as well. I don't enjoy it. I think it is too uneven of a linen for me. And I like the smaller count of 36. So I have two things working against me. But here it is. Progress so far. And it will get done. It will not remain a whip forever. My next up project is another finish. I did get a lot of finishes on this list, which is very exciting for me. Is the hands-on design Jack-o'-lantern Junction farm pattern. It came with two other mini patterns. I did not stitch the mini patterns. My interest was in this. I was very intrigued as to what stitching a chalkboard art pattern would be like. I know she's got a lot of them. She's got, a lot of jars, mason jars, chalky like this. She's got one of these for almost every season. I do understand that it was a collaborative effort between herself and Priscilla from, I'm trying to find her name so that I don't screw it up. I don't see it immediately. But Priscilla from Stitching with the Housewives, I believe she is the artist behind the chalk art. And I am assuming then that Kathy from Hands On Design charted it. I know that Stitching with the Housewives does their own things now. So I'm not sure if we'll see that too many more of these from Hands On Design, but I was intrigued. The one thing I didn't love with the pattern itself was that there were two symbols that were very similar and they were often stitched close together. And the pattern itself, this is a big pattern, but the pattern, because it had the mini patterns, I guess they had tried to conserve paper. So the pattern wasn't as big as I would have liked it to be for what this size was. And you were stitching on dark fabric, so there was a lot of squinting, a lot of I can't see, I don't know what this is. So it was a labor of love. I love it in the end, but I don't think I loved stitching it. Here it is, finished. Jack-o'-lantern Junction Farm by Hands On Design. I made some slight changes in that I added a pink. Most of these are the called for colors, but I believe there was, so if you look over here, there was this gray pumpkin, and most of those pink pumpkins were supposed to be gray. And I just didn't want gray pumpkins. That didn't seem fun to me. So I made them pink. This pattern has a lot of fun stuff in it. There's some Smyrna crosses. There's some backstitching that you're not expecting. Like there's a lot of backstitching in the house. I don't know if you can see it. It's on the steps. It's on the window. It's purple. And it just kept going. There was just so much. And it really was. I did feel like every time I moved onto a different part of the pattern, there was something new that I hadn't seen. So I really did love it. I just wish the layout of the pattern had been a little better for my struggling eyes. The next one up on the list is a Country Cottage Needleworks. It is called Away We Go. And honestly, I truly think it's adorable. Little Santa with his reindeer flying over these 3 houses. I still enjoy this pattern. But that previous pattern turned me off immensely to stitching on black or gray linen. I think realistically the best idea for me to complete this pattern is to buy some black Aida. I could probably go up to some 18 count black Aida and stitch it on that. It is just not worth. I don't have the best eyes. I wear contacts and it is a struggle to try and find the holes on the black linen. Aida will still be a struggle, just a little bit less of one. So we'll see when I get to this. I am not checking it. Definitely would like to stitch it just on Aida. Apparently I had a thing for black in this section because my next pattern is the Rooftop Cocoa Shop from Lindy Stitches. I also did not print out any patterns that I had PDFs of to show you guys, just because saving the paper. But this one is one such pattern, another finish, the Rooftop Cocoa Shop. She had released this pattern in it with a bag originally, and then she released it to everyone else afterwards, and I just loved it because it is. Stephanie Webb has a great sense of humor, and you see it in her cross stitch pieces. And I don't know if you find this funny, but I did. Look at those reindeer. They have mugs of hot cocoa chillin' on their backs as they set up shop on somebody's roof. Is it Santa's roof? I want to know. Do they wait there for the other reindeer to come back? I mean, that one's definitely Rudolph, so maybe this is his side hustle. When he's not pulling Santa's sleigh, he's selling hot cocoa on the roof. I don't know. I find it funny. So I love that idea. I have no idea how I want to finish it. Changes I made was, this was supposed to be white. I do not enjoy how stitching with this is 2 strands. So this has got to be like a 32 count linen. Stitching with white, if it's not necessary and you've got to do it with 2 strands, don't do it. I don't. Obviously the snow, it was necessary. But this, no, I didn't need that. So I changed it to a nice blue, again with the mint. I told you guys I like that bluish with the red. And then the roof, I just picked a variegation. This is a Color and Cotton purple. I don't know what purple it was, which ended up being a problem for me later on in another project. But I just wanted to add a little color to the roof. As I'm remembering looking at it, it's definitely not all the called for colors. I think I was missing some of them because I believe it's charted in a mix of DMC and some variegation. I just didn't have all the colors, so I made do because I didn't feel like I needed to stay true to the colors in this pattern. Look how they're cute. Gotta figure out how I'm gonna finish it. Next one is just a chart. I did not get to it. I had intended for this to be part of my mania. Mania this year didn't go according to plan. I started George Decorates for Martha. And I started something else. I can't think of it off the top of my head. And then I just got so addicted to finishing what I had started that I did. I finished my main mania piece because I do Stitch Sania, which is another Lindy Stitches creation, which is you take a whip that you really want to make some progress on, work on it during the week, and if you hit a certain goal during that week, you get to start a new project in May. So I had picked 4 projects to start in May. This was one of them. Plum Street Samplers, the Beekeeper. This was originally part of a kit, a widely sought after kit. This is the kit. I have the kit. Now this is available to everybody. Again, it's adorable. I have a thing for bees and in stitching. But in life too, save the bees. I just don't need to be covered in bees in real life. But in stitching, I love to stitch a bee. So I love this idea. It just didn't work into the mania plans. That's really the only reason that it didn't get stitched. And then I am kind of a seasonal stitcher. So I think the season passed and I just got into other things and I never came back to it. But I do hope to stitch it eventually. In the kit, it did come with the fabric. Let's see if it tells you here. 35 count natural northern cross linen. I don't know too much about that linen other than I took it out of the kit and it stood up on its own. Not the fabric for me. So I am going to pick a different fabric when I stitch it, probably a 36 count, because it does use fancy flosses. That's another wonderful thing. Fancy flosses are, more expensive than DMC, and using one strand makes them really, you use a lot. You can use them for a lot more projects than normal, and I appreciate that. So just another feather in the hat of using one thread. The next one is a tiny modernist. I did start this project in 2019. I think I knew I wasn't going to finish it in 2019, so I threw it on my 2020 list to motivate myself. And this is the tiny modernist Halloween calendar. There is a lot going on in this. A lot. I'm going to close up, show you all of the days. It is a beautiful pattern. I stitched this on Picture This Plus Nocturne. I did use 2 threads, which meant this was a floss eater. And it took me a while. I believe I stitched the boxes first. And then I tried to go in order, and I'm a color completer normally. As you can see, this was a hard project to color complete in because there was just so many colors in so many boxes all over the place. So I eventually tried to stick to doing each box independently. If I finished a color, like say I finished this orange and I knew that there was orange in a box close to it, because I did have this in a Q-snap, I would just jump and throw that color in there, but I just couldn't color complete on this. That was just too big a feat to even attempt. I think I'm going to frame this one. Just because I could see me putting this up every year. It's a fun little calendar. I definitely recommend. Just know that it's not quick. Holding it up, you can see that I shouldn't have expected it to be quick. I underestimate how long my stitching is actually going to take. So yeah. Tiny Modernist Halloween calendar. I don't have the pattern also because this was also a PDF. 1 second. I hate doing this. I hate taking drinks, but I get so dry-mouthed. The next project on my list was Queen Bee by the Blue Flower. She's kitted, but untouched. I don't know why I didn't touch her. I just don't think I got around to it. I was doing a lot of things in between, so I never got to it. But I will. I intend to. I love this idea. I'd never seen quilting patterns really incorporated into a cross stitch before. And if you look at her body, you can really see how Janine pulled from quilting to create the bee. And I really like that. So she's definitely on my list. There's another bee that's beautiful too. I think it's the winter bee, I don't know, or a sleeping bee or something like that. Beautiful. It's a good companion piece. Ah, another finish, yay! I stitch a lot of Plum Street. I really like Paulette Stewart style. This one was a country winter. This was also part of a kit. I was not in the club for this one, but I was able to purchase the kit before it got released to the general public. I believe it was a Dying to Stitch kit. I'm trying to see if it says it on here. I'm not seeing it, but I'm willing to bet it was that I bought it from Dying to Stitch. It's Country Winter. And like I said, it was kitted, so I did use all of the called for colors. And I really loved stitching this piece. Really, really did. Everything about it was just so beautiful. I think the only thing I didn't like was this little... He's holding a quilt square, the snowman. And it was a bunch of over one. And I told you guys, bad eyes. And in the end, I did regular cross stitches with the red, and I put in some white back stitching to try and get a similar effect. It's obviously not the same effect. Let me show you close up on here. But I'm happy with how it looks, and I don't think you'd ever know that it was stitched incorrectly. So, another little one off to be framed eventually. Look at this little sheep. That's so cute. And what I did was, for this one, was I stitched it one half. I was stitching it according to pages, which is a new thing I seem to be doing now as opposed to finishing colors. So I stitched this page and then the next, and that actually made it feel like it went super quick. I think there was a little more than half of the barn on one page, and I didn't realize I thought it was only half. So when I got to the next page, I didn't have nearly as much to stitch. So that was nice. Next one is another one I did not touch, sadly, because I love this pattern. It is Teresa Kogut's Bloomin' Hens, Black Hens on Sunflowers. It is beautiful. I really love it, and it's really not that big. Maybe it's a little bigger than I thought, 100 by 136. So decent, but not ginormous. It is completely kitted. It did have a fabric in it. As I was pulling this to make this video, I noticed it came with the called for 32 count linen. Not something I'm interested in stitching on anymore. I pulled it. I will find a 36 for it, especially because these are all nice fancy flosses. So I will get a great effect with the 36 count and love it. I really do want to stitch this soon. They're just so cute. Cute little black hens, cute little bees. Another Plum Street, Goody Grimwood. She's a little on the bigger side. The pattern is fantastic though. There's like 7 or 8 pages and they are blown up really big. I really enjoyed it. I was hoping to really bang some of this out in December. My wrist did not agree. They actually think it's my ulnar nerve, I believe. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. Maybe get some more answers. They want me to lay off it for 6 weeks. I've already done about 2. So I'm thinking of actually I'm thinking of doing a video for my 2021 list. It would be a little boring because it's just the patterns, but I will ask you guys. Tell me your thoughts. Should I make the 2021 video? I might have no choice because I don't have any stitching to show you. Either have that list video or no video. We'll see. But Goody Grimwood, I had hoped to get some more work done on her. I did hit my goal before my wrist decided to disagree with me on what we were doing with the rest of this year. And that was just to give Goody her head. Finish her body so she wasn't disembodied and walking around. There is Miss Goody. I changed her a smidge, made her darker, and her cute little bird. And this is all I've gotten to do. I do believe I have more fabric than needed, so I don't think she's going to actually be this big. She's, I think, 164 by 150. So not small, but not huge. And I will finish her because I really do love her. It's just, I had every intention. I wanted to get her done this year or close to done. Best laid plans, right? Ooh, this whip. This is, oh, I always forget if it's Night Walks Down. It is Night Walks Down by the Blue Flower. I love this pattern. It is a beautiful pattern. Beautiful. There is nothing wrong with this pattern. There's everything wrong with the decisions I made in stitching this pattern. However, it I believe is stitched on a 40 count linen. I can't stitch on 40 count eyes. I really wanted a fabric color that was similar to this, and I had something from Color and Cotton. I believe it was a 28 count Jaslyn. 28 count. 28! Ooh. And these are all fancy flosses. This pattern eats thread like a monster truck eats gas. And I started this in the beginning of 2020. Obviously, did not buy as much thread as I needed because I didn't realize what a monster thread guzzler it was going to be. And I kept running out of the colors I needed. And they were almost impossible to find. And they are mostly gentle arts. And I love gentle art threads. But their dye lots can be difficult to match. So when you're starting a project with gentle arts, you really want to have all of the threads from the same dye. You want to have as many skeins that you need. And I just didn't have that. Old Purple Paint seems to be one of the colors I have the most issues with. I kept buying Old Purple Paints and I got 3 different colors. I did find a Color and Cotton substitute. I believe it was called Fig. It is over there. I will look. It is really nice. I really like it. And I'm hoping it'll be a little more consistent to work with. So if I run out of more Old Purple Paint, I will go for that instead. But that is what made me put this beautiful project down. The size and the thread eating. It is definitely a third of the way there. A little more. This is an entire page. I think this is 2 pages. This is 2 pages. This is a third page. The third page is not completed yet. There's just, I believe, a flower here and the border that comes down this way. I will get back to it. I will. I'm thinking about making it my mania piece. I bought a lap stand so that I can put it in there to take some pressure off of my wrist and to stitch two-handed so that when I have bulkier pieces like this that are two-threaded, it will not be so bad. So we shall see. But I really do love it. I just made very poor stitching choices in picking it up. Learn from my mistakes. Do not stitch this on anything that needs 2 threads. Or if you do, I believe there's a DMC conversion. My goodness, go for that. That's my recommendation. This next piece that I'm going to show you is something I 100% knew I wasn't there was no intention of finishing this piece. It was just a piece that I see a lot of people working on and I really did like. So I picked it up. It is Halloween at Hawkhorn Hollow. You all know it and love it because the Hawkhorn Hollow series are beautiful. They are in depth, extremely detailed, and in the end, beautiful, right? So because of its size, I'm going to classify this as a BAP in my world. Big ass piece. Some people say big ol' piece. Nope, not me. Big ass. Let's see. It is 371 stitches wide by 278 stitches high. This is definitely going to be a piece that if I want to bang out, I'm really going to have to concentrate, probably do a block at a time, I would think. It will be an eventually piece. I'm okay with that. I don't need it done ASAP. I would like it done eventually. I ordered a 20 count Ada for this, which is very hard to find. So there weren't too many options, color, feel, had to go with what I could find. I wanted it to be smaller. I wanted to use one thread, but 40 count linen just isn't for me. I even bought magnifiers. They make me a little nauseous. But this, I can work with. This is what I have. It is just enough to be considered a start. My little is awake. And you can see that it is the Cauldron in the main witch's block. A bat went in, and there's a little spoon, and that's all I got. I will come back to this. I think I was focusing on something else around Halloween. Hi, baby. Hi. I'll see you soon, okay? You want to come in and say good morning? Morning. Come here. Good morning. So my quiet me time is officially over. My family has awoken. All the krakens in the house are awake and here. So we might have, you will hear some noises. We might see some little nuggets. We'll see. Don't remember what I was saying, but this was as far as I got on Halloween at Hawkhorn Hollow. And I will get back to it at some point this year. I hope. Not this year. 2021. I'm hoping to finish a box in 2021. If I could finish the 2 witches, it could feel like 2 boxes. We'll see. This next one, I don't have the pattern printed for. It is a Sapphire Mountain Crafts pattern. She is the person behind Stitching Book Club, which I think is now what most everyone knows her for, but this was a piece she did prior to that. I believe it's called Poison Apples. It says dangerously delicious poison apples. Cauldron, beware. This piece was something I saw Lolly from Lollipop Stitches stitch, and I loved it. Did not hate it because it was on Black Ada. I believe it's a 16 count Black Ada. And not all the called for colors, but I don't think you can really tell. And I love this little piece. I want to get it framed up, put up in the house. I love Disney, so this was a perfect Disney nod that wasn't, you know, super Disney, but I loved it. Another Disney Halloween-y piece. This one is, why am I blanking on the name? I hate when this happens. Wild Violet cross stitch piece, Hocus Pocus. Michelle from Bendy Stitchy stitched the model for this, and as she was stitching it, when she threw the cat in the window, I knew, and she couldn't tell me, but I knew it was a Hocus Pocus house. It was adorable. I had to do it. It went a lot easier than I thought. I've seen other people stitch the Salem houses, and it seems like they always felt like it's a lot of stitching. This did not feel that way. I think because of how the house is broken up, but If you look closely, you will see Binks. The black flame candle is there as well. Purple smoke to show the witches are in. And it was just adorable. I don't know what word I just tried to say there. Adorable. This is actually the same purple, I believe, that I used for the Rooftop Cocoa Shop. Made its way around that purple. And it's another one I'd like to get framed. I want to have this up year round because I am Hocus Pocus 24/7. Another Plum Street for you. I called Acorns and Threads for this pattern. I had seen it before they had received it. So they took down the name, told me they would send it to me, and they asked me to describe the pattern. And I was like, Janine, it's Santa giving a moose candy cane. And she burst out laughing and said, well, what else would you give a moose? So, mooses hold a special place in our heart. I don't think mooses is right. Whatever. Moose holds a special place in our hearts, in my family, because of my father. So I needed to stitch this up. It was one of the things I think I did earlier on. Look at this guy. Look at him in his candy cane. He's so cute. Obviously, this is a little special for me because of the connection with my dad and Moose. And it's Santa giving a moose a candy cane. I don't know how you couldn't love this piece. I haven't decided what I want to do with it. You can see how bad I am at figuring out what I want to do with pieces, as everything I have stitched for this year is sitting here. There is not a single piece on this list that got sent out. I have sent other things out. I have things in bags here to send to Alyssa, but none of the... I'm looking. Some of it was stitched this year. I think actually a lot of it was stitched kind of recently. Only one piece is stitched in 2019, but I'm trying to slowly get everything out and finished because it deserves to be out, not in my closet. If you look around my house, you're just being able to tell that a stitcher lives here because I have so much just pieces, they just live in a closet. What? Why? Why do I do that? No more. This next one is just a pattern. It is the Hands-On Design Holly Jolly Farm. I purchased this before I had stitched Halloween Junction. It is like the other one, comes with 3 patterns. I believe I have it kitted. I have the floss. It doesn't look fully kitted to me, but I am not sure. I am not ready to start it, so I'm not going to check just yet. I think it's the same thing. I think I'm going to have to make this a bigger count Ada, at least. I think I'm going to try and do Ada, but keep it like an 18 count Ada, so it doesn't eat up a lot of floss, because there's a lot of detail in this one too. But I couldn't bring, I think I had it in my head that I was going to do this right after the Halloween one. No. No, I needed a break from the black. We'll get back to it though. This is another one that I really, really love. Knew I wasn't going to finish or start. I was hoping to start it. I really was. I knew I wasn't going to finish this year because it's another BAP. It is Halloween at Hollyberry Farm by Stacy Nash Primitives. And I had this kitted. I searched all over for all of these threads. They were hard to find. And the reason I didn't get around to it is because I really wanted the R&R Rook linen to go with this, because I really liked how it looked on here. And that was like trying to mine gold. I couldn't find it anywhere. I put in an order at a couple of shops to see who, if someone could get it to me. Nobody had it. I had to cancel some orders. I kept stocking 1, 2, 3 stitch. Nothing. I finally found it. I actually looked the other day. It's still not on 1, 2, 3 stitch. But I found it on Etsy somewhere. And by the time I found it, it was already Christmas. I was deep in my Christmas stitching. So I'm going to try and stitch this up next year. I will be making a change because I know, as many of you probably already know, If you're looking at this pattern, if you're looking at the picture in real life, the pattern looks blue. It is not stitched with anything blue. It is stitched with carriage black, which is kind of like, it can be a bluish black, but it's definitely more black than blue. I spoke with Kindred Stitcher to find out what color she was using because she wanted it to be blue also. She recommended Blacksmith Blue from Classic Colorworks, so I bought a few skeins of that, and I'm planning on stitching at least some of this to be more blue than it's actually intended to be. But it's another big one, 343 by 227. I have a thing for BAPs now. And speaking of BAPs, this is my last thing on my list. It is something that I love. It was, I think, what I started in January. And it was me telling myself I was going to like 40 count linen. And I love this piece and I will not get rid of it. I just don't know when I'm going to be able to get back to it. It is the Modern Folk Embroidery 2018 Stitch Along. I am not doing it monochromatically. This is what I have. This is an entire page, and I am in love with it. I was picking colors as I was going. I think it's absolutely stunning. It's just the 40 count. I got really bad headaches in the beginning of 2020. They were the worst headaches I'd ever experienced. I'm sure it had something to do with my bad eyes and me stitching in improper lighting and trying to do this 40 count and just powering through because I like to not listen to my body when it tells me something is wrong. And this resulted in like a month of headaches. So I put it down. I bought the magnifiers. I just never picked it back up. I think I was scared, to be honest. But it's just so beautiful. How can I not pick it back up? I mean, at this point, I really would just like to finish at least winter so that I can do something with it if I really find that stitching on the 40 count is just not for me. Again, nothing wrong with the pattern, just poor stitchy choices on my part. So I'm hoping to get back to it. We'll see what I can do. But it's so beautiful. I can't not finish something. It's got to get done. It has to. Something has to get done. And that's really it. That is my 2020 list. Let me know if you want to see my 2021 list. It will just be patterns, what I've kitted, my thoughts behind it. Like I said, my hand isn't doing great, and they do want me to lay off it for another couple of weeks. So if I choose not to show you guys that, I don't think I have anything that I finished but didn't show you. So I'd have to get creative with that. We will see. But yeah, I am going to wrap up. I hope you all had safe holidays. I know we're all looking forward to 2021. I hope that you guys have a better year than you did this year. If it was 2020 for you. I'm trying to focus on the really good things that did happen in 2020 because there were a few things. They were small. They were great. Like my daughter took a while to talk, and she learned to talk in 2020. She said mama in 2020. My husband had a 2.5-hour commute back and forth from San Jose to here, and he doesn't anymore, and it doesn't look like he ever will. So that was good, and he really got to come back and spend a lot of day-to-day time with us. My daughter got to really get to know him because she really was seeing him just an hour before bedtime. He was seeing her at her worst. And she was only seeing him when she was really tired. So I'm trying to look up. I'm trying to think that 2021 has to be happier and memory-filled, and I'm hoping for the best. So I hope that you look at the end of your year, try and find a few things to focus on that were great, and think happy thoughts moving into 2021. All right, guys, I will see you soon. Bye.